What's going on, all you historical enthusiasts? Your two favorite theoretical physicists are back tonight, and we are going to discuss Christopher Nolan's brand new blockbuster film. Just came out over this past weekend, made a ton of money. Part of the Barbenheimer double feature that happened this past weekend, blew up the box office literally and figuratively. Talking about J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. That's right. We're talking about Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. You dropped a bomb on me.
You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. And the world is not prepared. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Truman needs to know what's next. 2. What's next? 1.
It wasn't a box office bomb. It blew up the box office and, outperformed all the initial estimations on what it was going to make. And pretty impressive, opening alongside another huge movie. Barbie opened bigger, but this one, made more money than they thought and went on to make over 100 million, internationally itself. So, people went out and forced to see this movie. And me and you were lucky enough to watch this in the theater. We're back and we're going to talk about our experience watching it. And, a really intense film, a long film, a lot of dialogue, not a lot of action, but the way that they're able to ramp up the tension and make it feel like an action movie with the score and the way Christopher Nolan filmed it and told the story. It really left an impact after leaving the theater.
Black and white, and then in color, different phases of Oppenheimer's life. Cillian Murphy playing a young lad, and then going throughout his life leading up to the what we know from history with the atomic bomb in Japan. But it really sets us up nicely. It's as you said, dialogue heavy, introduced to a lot of characters in this movie. Robert Downey Jr. Very cool seeing him again. And Louis Strauss was a character. And just really sets up the rest of the supporting cast. A lot of surprises along the way that show up in the film.
Yeah, I knew the main cast and who was going to be in it, but there's a lot of famous faces that weren't even really talked about, leading into the movie that you see show up in the movie and you're like, wow, I had no idea he was in it. And we're not going to spoil those for you. Let's just say this is an all-star cast that Christopher Nolan has assembled, and you're going to be blown away by who you see in the movie. And nobody really felt out of place at all. I thought it was perfectly cast. All the performances were phenomenal. There's going to be multiple Academy Award nominations in this. Cillian Murphy, of course, Emily Blunt as his wife. You had Florence Pugh as a lover of J. Robert Oppenheimer. That sort of got him tied to the Communist Party, and a lot of things going on. But first, the Army's trying to get this program together, led by Leslie Groves. He's like an Army general. He's in charge of this program, putting it together. And, he's heard of Oppenheimer. He knows he's this brilliant theoretical physicist. He puts him in charge to gather a team of the world's smartest minds to come up and to build this atomic weapon. And, for a long time, Oppenheimer's been wanting to put his stamp on the world and really, show what he could do. And he's having these visions in the film. And I love those scenes where Nolan's showing Oppenheimer really having these visions of he's picturing these atoms and, the nuclear explosion itself, like showing those little glimpses. It's really cool how he did that. And, it really shows Oppenheimer from, like you mentioned, to be this young person all the way to where he ends up after college, and really gathering a team together with people he knew from school. And we even see Albert Einstein there. He knows Einstein, so this is a genius, and you're really seeing this genius at work. And it's really a film that goes into everything that went into making the atomic bomb, but really the psychology of after he was able to do that, like what it did to him, emotionally and physically.
Yeah, for sure. You can see the mad scientist that he really is, like so smart. I can't even imagine being that smart. Like a lot of the movie with the physics and the math and everything that's involved in that, way over my head, but trying to understand it, and all these nerds, the smartest people in the world getting together to formulate and put this bomb together, atomic bomb, and really sets up a lot of the supporting cast. One that I really liked in this was Benny Safdie as Edward Teller. Edward Teller was the inspiration for Doctor Strangelove. I thought was pretty cool, but he was one of the better supporting cast. Of course, you have Kenneth Branagh always showing up in Nolan flicks. He was really great in this. Josh Hartnett, I thought, was one of
Mhm.
the better supporting casts. Second time I've seen him this year next to Black Mirror, so he's popping up again. He was really fantastic in this movie. Rami Malek, Jack Quaid, Casey Affleck, David Krumholtz, and Alden
Mhm.
Ehrenreich. Just the list goes on. The
Yeah.
supporting cast, and just everybody. A lot of dialogue, but you understand what's going on.
Yes. Nolan creates a masterful, he's a masterful storyteller and he creates this film. It feels huge on the big screen, watching everything go into putting this bomb together. And when they actually do detonate the bomb, what a marvelous scene, like epic, as only Nolan can do. He's just this huge canvas and seeing it on an IMAX screen, hearing the pulsing sound of the explosion and the timer and everything going off. I remember I was like so on the edge of my seat in the theater. My heart was beating like, one, is it going to work? What, obviously knowing history, it did work, but even, he's able to film it and just keep you on the edge of your seat. And watching that explosion, how he filmed it was amazing too. Obviously he's not going to be able to explode a real nuclear bomb, but he made it look and feel so realistic and, really showed the emotion of everybody there, with the possibility of, even it's causing a reaction that gets out of hand. And like they mentioned in the movie, basically going on a chain reaction through the atmosphere, it had a possibility to end the world. They didn't know the physics of it completely. There was a chance that it could set off, a chain reaction that could, explode the atmosphere potentially. So they had all this stuff going on, and it was coming down to the deadline. This was the last day they could test this. They had promised, the president that this was going to be able to happen, that it wasn't just theoretical. They were able to do it, and they were able to do it just in time. But, not only what goes into making it, but like I mentioned before, just how under much scrutiny he was under the whole time, being accused of being a double agent, and people on his team being accused of, selling secrets and spying for the other countries like Germany and Russia and China, because everybody at this time were trying to develop this bomb first and be the world superpower. So, all that's shown in the movie, and that's a lot of history that I didn't really know about before. Obviously I'd heard of Oppenheimer and the Manhattan Project, and how the bombs ultimately got dropped on Japan, but a lot of the other stuff I didn't have any idea about, including how Oppenheimer felt when the bomb was actually dropped on Japan, the two, and just like how that tore him apart, and how he realized that he really created something that's really a world ender, and having to live with that, and see that he wasn't really appreciated for what he did, that he was kind of brought in to do this amazing thing, and then the president and everybody else was going to take credit for it, really. So it's a crazy story, crazy piece of history, and I couldn't imagine, he felt like he had blood on his hands, after the bombs got dropped and stuff like that. I didn't have any idea about, and Nolan was able to tell this large story and look at it from so many different angles and perspectives. He really gives you the a big story here, and you can kind of take out of it what you will, but he really shows us the horror of one of these weapons, and if it's used to kill people in the future, it's going to be a terrible thing, obviously. But at the time, it was used to end the World War II. Some people said that Japan was already going to surrender. Others would say, no, this saved a lot of American lives from going over there. So that's, it's up for debate. But luckily, one hasn't been used since Japan. So we're all grateful for that. But these weapons are still out there.
The weapon of mass destruction. And it's really like a Frankenstein kind of story of creating this monster about power and how you can just wipe out, it'll be a mass genocide of countries and things like that, just like that. Everybody's fighting to get that power, outdo one another, and lots on the line. A lot of historical, stuff going on here. A lot of stuff I didn't know about till watching this movie. Put all those pieces together to understand what was going on exactly. But really great story. Cillian Murphy just knocked it out of the park. Definitely one of his better performances for sure, and I loved going through his life and what he went through.
Phenomenal performance. Just, you can see it in his eyes. The scene where he kind of is able to wear his patented look there with the hat, and he was always smoking the pipe. He really embodied Oppenheimer. I went back and looked at photos, really looked at him. He had those blue eyes. Oppenheimer had those too. So a marvelous performance, and, showing him over the years and like, where he started and how he ended up and the mental toll that it took on him. And, really this genius of a man. He was able to take physics to a whole nother level. Einstein, obviously the theoretical physics in Einstein, that's who you think about, but Oppenheimer took it to another level. And, he's forever going to be in history. And, go see this movie on the biggest screen you can, because you're going to be blown away. And it's a crazy story, one that actually happened, so many years ago. It's crazy what they were able to do, with the limited technology that they had back then. But they created this weapon, and man, just this movie blew me away. It's a long one. It's not one you're going to feel happy about after you get out of there. It raises a lot of interesting questions, and it really analyzes the whole story. But it's a great film, and it's going to get a lot of love award season.
You're going to walk out feeling depressed. That's how I felt leaving the theater. It's not a feel good movie, obviously. Based, everything going on in the war, ending the war back then, creating this huge, massive, bomb that kills many people. So yeah, it's just really not a feel good movie compared to like Barbie. You're going to sit down, you're going to fall, into these lives, into what these characters are going through the eyes of Christopher Nolan. It's a beautiful looking movie. Scope is massive. You got to see this on the biggest screen possible at the theater for sure to experience this. Even, sometimes Nolan doesn't really show you what he's doing, but you hear it in the score. So it creates this really beautiful atmosphere, and it definitely one of his better films for sure. The cast was stacked, the score was amazing, cinematography was beautiful, and I think overall I didn't really feel the 3 hour runtime as much as other movies I watched recently. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. Really, definitely one of the better recent Nolan films. I wouldn't say it's his magnum opus, but it's up there for the top three at least for sure.
Yes, I would have to agree with you. It's definitely up within the top three. I wouldn't put it at his magnum opus either, but it's really masterful storytelling. Really makes you think, and it's in some aspects it's like a horror film too. He's able to make a lot of different films all in one, and so it definitely is a movie that will have you thinking about it, and afterwards not feeling great, leaving the movie theater. But it's an important film. It's one that has to be seen. That's how I feel about it.
It's definitely a movie you want to check out. Probably a movie you'd have to watch at least once, maybe a few times, just to wrap your head around everything that's thrown at you. Some really powerhouse performances here. I'm going to be surprised if this is not nominated for a bunch of, Oscars. Just all around great, well done film. One of the most anticipated of the year for me, for sure, and definitely one of the best films of the year for me as well. So with that being said, I'm going to give Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 Cillian Murphy hairpieces.
And I'm going to give Oppenheimer a 4.5 out of 5 Robert Downey Jr. hairpieces.
I want to hear from you guys. What did you like about Oppenheimer? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite Christopher Nolan film? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to click subscribe. Also check out these wild physicists on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV movie news and reviews.
So we've finished one half of Barbenheimer. We're going to be back very soon to review the other half, Barbie, from Greta Gerwig, that tore up the box office, won first place. Oppenheimer won second place. What a great weekend to go to the theater. Revival in the midst of this strike. It was good to see everybody at the theater watching it together. It's been a while since I saw a packed theater at 3 p.m. when I went. It was packed. So really good to see, these filmmakers making these movies, and putting their hearts and souls into it. We will go support that. And I'm glad to see theater goers and movie goers flock to the theater and see both of these films. And Christopher Nolan, I can't wait to see what he does next. He just keeps on pushing the bar, and he's got a lot left to give, and I can't wait to see what he chooses next.
He's probably just going to do a rom-com or something.
Right, yeah. They need to give him, he needs to do, like a franchise. I want to see him take on Bond, maybe.
That'd be cool.
Something like that would be really awesome, to put his own spin on it. And like the other Nolan movies, this has like the beginning and ending, like he's known to do, like with Einstein and Oppenheimer, that scene, and then he bookends it at the end. I liked how he did that with this one too. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy Oppenheimer. Let us know in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching our review. And until the next Cinephellas movie review, I am Uncle Henry Oppenheimer.
And I am Kelly Murphy signing out until the next movie review.
Cheers.